So basically what we did was we asked 2 questions in advance, and they have a choice of one of the questions. And one of the questions is, what has been your most vexing measurement challenge, and how did you solve it? Or, what's the best piece of measurement advice you've ever received? So, Donna, you want to start out?
Okay, I'm actually going to repeat something that's been said several times today. One of the things I'm lucky about is working at Texas Instruments. I work with a group of engineers. I think about 95% of our employees are engineers, and one thing you learn very early is they think in ones and zeros and numbers. So which was actually great when we started working on measurable objectives. And you've heard over and over today how important measurable objectives are. But if you can start all of your measurement programs by thinking about your target audience, what outcome you want them to, what outcome you want from them, and then at what level or percentage of outcome you want, then you'll be able to have a measurable objective statement, and that is really the key to any good measurement program.
I'll take the most challenging question, which I think actually was asked by someone just before lunch, was how do you show the value of the overall public relations or communication function to the organization? This was exactly the question that the IEBC Research Foundation asked a team of researchers that I headed in beginning in 1985. How do we show the overall value of public relations to the organization? We think we came up to an answer to that question. Essentially, you can show the value of anything by the extent to which it increases revenue, reduces cost, or reduces risk. And in contrast to what you're all talking about here, this conference, we discovered that reducing cost and risk were more important contributions than increasing revenue. And essentially, we discovered that you do that by improving relationships with strategic publics, people that really do matter to the organization and that are affected by the organization. And you can indeed measure relationships to be able to do that, and that is something we've also worked out.
Thank you. I'll go with the second one then. And I wouldn't necessarily say it was measurement advice at the time, but my first job out of college was at a PR agency in Silicon Valley that was a big believer in research. My first project starting out at that PR agency was doing research, and one of the things that we did at that firm, every Friday we had Harvard Business Review case studies that we had to do at 8 o'clock on Friday morning, and it was really a Socratic method approach to teaching the course, which is a little bit odd since it was business setting. And the thing that I always remember, the founder of the firm yelling at me back, and you know, I thought I'd come up with something brilliant, and he'd come back and say, "You're in the weeds, Markline, you're in the weeds." And I remember that a lot as I do measurement work, because a lot of the data that we deal with is in the weeds. And so keeping that in mind has been helpful throughout my career, even though it wasn't intended that way.
Thank you. Well, I'll close with the advice question, best piece of advice. Doug Pinkham, some of you may know him as the president of the Public Affairs Council. Every fall, Doug comes and does a guest lecture at my research course in the Strategic Public Relations Master's Program at the George Washington University. He's got one slide that I love. He puts it up and there's big letters at the top, "Repeat after me," and then it says, "Resist the pressure to quantify performance until you have defined your value to the success of the organization."
There you go. That's good advice, I would say. All right. I'd like to thank all of our inductees for being here today.